Hello, my name is Ben.
And I'm Sky.
And welcome to the Too Vague Podcast. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. How are you doing today, Sky? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey, I'm so happy to be here. You know, I've been listening to you since the beginning because my sibling Shy is your friend.
Yes, Cheyenne. They are a regular guest on the show.
Yeah, regular host with you. And so listening to that and listening to what your podcast was, I'm so happy to have met you. And now I get to be on your podcast. I'm excited. Part of the legend and the lore.
Yeah, and we can talk about your stance on barrelmancy. Because Shy has a particular stance on barrelmancy. Introduce yourself for the folks.
I'm Sky. I run a men's mental health podcast in my free time called Hey Men, It's Okay. And I work for my local government as an assistant. The rest of my life is kind of just based around mental health stuff and my podcast and connecting to new people. I like to play a lot of video games in my free time, which isn't a lot, but I have played a lot of video games.
Yeah.
I love them very much. One of Shy's favorite games is Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
And I had given up on it, and they came to visit me, and they built me a character, and I've gotten back into it again.
Have you played through a number of times like Cheyenne has?
No, I'm still on my first playthrough ever.
Okay. Because I think Cheyenne has played through it
several times.
I think that's being very nice. I think it's probably dozens.
Yeah, let me know that.
Cheyenne really likes that kind of game. And then also your games like Dragon Age and Mass Effect.
Oh, yeah. The RPGs that are story driven.
Those are a lot of fun too. I'm generally a story guy in my older age, but you got to give me some interesting and fun game mechanics along with that. So what have you been up to lately? What's new in the world of Sky?
I turned 36 this last week.
Oh, so you're officially an old man? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's been kind of something I've been coping with. But, before I turned 36, at the beginning of the month, I decided to take a step back from social media because social media was just eating up all of my time. I was doom scrolling. I was disconnected from the people around me.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to take a break. So another thing I've been doing is learning ukulele.
It's the actual ukulele. It's not a program called ukulele.
Correct. It's not like a game called ukulele. It's an actual physical ukulele. And I'm learning just a couple songs right now. I'm not very good yet.
Any death metal?
The ukulele for some reason doesn't work with death metal. It's weird.
No? See, more electric ukulele. Do they have electric ukuleles?
They do have electric ukuleles, and I bet you could play death metal in that ukulele. That would be something interesting to look into.
Ukulele solos. Yeah, that would be great. So you've been learning ukulele and anything else with the show, or?
I mean, yeah, we've had a couple of really cool guests this season that have been really exciting. We had David Baker on earlier this year, who's on the show Forged in Fire as one of the hosts. Mm-hmm. I had my Enneagram teacher on from The Art of Growth, Joel Hubbard.
Okay.
Coming up, we have a relationship coach named Vanessa Morgan that we're really excited about. And then I've had a lot of people who have agreed to come on the podcast, but we haven't quite connected to schedule yet. So there's a few of those I'm going to keep in my back pocket while I'm working out details to see if it's even going to happen.
Yeah.
My co-host is really involved right now, which is, by the way, my co-host is a licensed therapist. So that's really cool. We get the clinical vision of stuff and like the everyday man vision of stuff.
That's really interesting to have different perspectives on something. You've got your real world perspective, and then you've got the perspective of a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, through that work and listening to your podcast, I thought a really cool word for us to do would be grow.
Do you want to do the word grow or growth?
Ooh, let's go with growth. I feel that's more general.
Not to let the cat out of the bag, the word this week is the word growth. Spoiler alert.
Sorry, guys.
That's a good word to do. You mentioned something. What is an Enneagram? You said Enneagram? What is that?
Oh my gosh. Ben, I love the Enneagram. Do you like personality tests? Like the Myers-Briggs and stuff?
They're okay. I take them occasionally, but I know my personality is crotchety old man, so it really doesn't matter either way.
The Myers-Briggs tells you who you are.
Uh-huh.
The Enneagram tells you why you react to things the way you do and why you move through this world the way you do.
Oh, okay.
And the first time I read my type description, I wept because I had never felt so seen and knew that other people in the world were dealing with the same struggles and the same limitations that I was dealing with.
Okay.
And I've been involved with the Enneagram for the last couple of years now. Actually, even at the beginning of last year, I was able to get my work to pay for a scholarship for me so that I could become a certified Enneagram practitioner. So now I can help people work through their Enneagram. It is really amazing.
How do you spell Enneagram?
Enneagram.
Okay, Enneagram.
If you look up the Art of Growth, they have the typing test and they also have the instincts test, which those are both very, very important things.
Okay.
And their tests are very accurate.
I'll definitely check that out. Interesting stuff to investigate and help people figure themselves out.
So it's theartofgrowth.org/discover your type. And that's where all of the free tests are listed. I mean, it's really changed my life and it has helped me in my path of growth very, very much.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, what I've been up to, surprise, surprise, I've been playing some games.
Ooh, which ones?
I've been playing 2 games specifically. I don't know if you've ever gotten into any of the Star Wars universe stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm big into Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order.
Cool.
Like the Cal Kestis series, I love it. I've played Force Unleashed back in the day, all those games. Bought all of the skins and stuff for him.
So here's the thing. I have yet to play Survivor.
Okay.
But what I started, since it was on sale, Star Wars Outlaws. So,
ooh, I've heard really good things about that.
Yeah, well, it's not connecting. And don't think any less of me, but I'm referring to it right now as Sucky Assassin's Creed.
Ah, yeah.
I'm still playing it. I'm still trying to get into it, but it just seems like it's very formulaic. And there's some things that, I mean, I can understand a Star Wars fan playing the role of scoundrel. That can be appealing to someone.
Sure, we all love Han Solo.
There are not as many opportunities for plucky comic relief like there were for Han Solo. But as far as the game itself, the universe is really fleshed out. It's really kind of cool in that sense. But the thing that is the sticking point for me right now is a big part of the game, the stealth mechanics. They're not as developed. This is just basically you're walking behind objects. There's no like hugging the corner or nothing where...
No crouching, no peeking around.
There's crouching, but it's like, yeah, no peeking. It's mostly you just hide behind stuff out of the vision of whoever the things are. And there's no mechanism to like see their paths or anything like a lot of games do for their stealth mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you've got a little pet that you can send off, steal stuff, distract people and things like that, which is okay. The open world is pretty beautiful looking, but the things where you have to climb stuff, it's kind of ridiculous. And this is just on the first planet, by the way. I haven't done much of the space combat, which seems pretty generic. You've got a mountain, and you've got to go around to find the path to get up. There are some things where you can climb, but it doesn't tell you which things you can climb. It's not really clear. And when you try and jump up things, it looks really half done. Like you'll jump on something and then you'll slide and go, whoa, you're out in the middle of the air and stuff. It's,
weird.
Yeah. I mean,
so it needs some more development and needs some more mechanics thrown in there.
I think it needed more time. And it's Ubisoft, and that's, I don't know. Maybe
why you call it cheap Assassin's Creed.
Sucky Assassin's Creed.
Sucky Assassin's Creed. Oh, sorry, my bad.
I never liked that series either, so maybe that's a problem for me. I could just call it Assassin's Creed, and it would be accurate. No, I mean, at least that they had more things built in, and I haven't played the latest Assassin's Creed, which is sort of the Japanese samurai kind of one that just came out.
That one I'm having a little bit of issues with, even just seeing.
Yeah. Because
I'm a big fan of Ghost of Tsushima. It feels very much like they copied a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. So what I'm looking forward to is the new Ghosts of Yodel game coming out, which is the second Ghost of Tsushima game.
That's Naughty Dog who did that?
Yes.
That's another one of those games I probably should check out because I've heard a lot of great things about Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima is like the best Assassin's Creed since like the Ezio series.
Oh, okay. And really, I should get to... I want to give Outlaws a shot. I really do. It's just that the whole open world idea you can explore. But if there's no story to go along with that, what's the sense in exploring a beautiful world that has no stories, nothing that you can,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree with that. I like games that have a lot more story development than character development.
Yeah. You've got to have a little bit of both, I think. But then also, if you've got a world to explore, fill that world with something. Don't just give me stuff where I can walk or take my speeder bike from place to place and then look at animals. There's another thing that happened to me last night where it's like, I've got a gun and this animal attacks me.
Okay.
I surprise the animal as I'm trying to find a way up to this little area. And I keep on shooting it and nothing happens. It just keeps on coming at me. And it's like, I shot you at least 20 times here. I don't know if that's intentional or you're making me run away, but if you're going to do that, tell me about it. Tell me that I will encounter things that I will have to run away from as opposed to just sit there shooting and shooting and shooting and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe I'm being a little too hard on it, but that's...
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of games you know pretty quickly whether you're going to be interested in it or not.
Yeah. I just don't want to sound like calling it sucky Assassin's Creed. There's a certain point where I just have to get enough into the game so I feel okay saying that, maybe. But the other game I'm playing is this really awesome Metroidvania-esque kind of game that I mentioned on the previous show with Andrew called Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. And it is...
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it is a 2D side-scrolling, like I said, Castlevania-esque. I don't like using Metroidvania or anything like that. But as you progress through the story and unlock different powers, you unlock more and more of the map. And it's basically going through and exploring, opening the map, going through enemies, reaching a boss fight, and then the character that you play, Lilac, she is what's called an attuner, and she can basically absorb the soul or life force of these different things, and then that gives her more powers that she can use. A lot of really cool things as far as developing that, and I've been really loving this story. And it's sort of a hand-painted kind of presentation that looks really beautiful,
cool.
Very cartoony. Yeah, so I've been playing that, and I want to get it all the way through it, and so I can do a review show. And the people who gave me the review code, I want to have hopefully someone from there on the show at some point and talk to them about it, because I'm really enjoying myself. It has a couple of problems, but not anything worth mentioning in the intro of the show quite yet. So it's definitely not sucky Assassin's Creed. We'll just say that right there. So
I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 and the new Assassin's Creed. I just finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the first time.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. So, and my wife had been playing Valhalla, so I didn't want to jump to that. So I just waited for the new one to come out. But in the meantime, I had been playing Baldur's Gate 3. And, I've always been a big fan of the Assassin's Creed games. So maybe I'll give Outlaws a look.
It sounds like maybe it might be your cup of tea. And I'd like to hear your perspective on it. Right now, I think it's on sale like almost half off, or at least it was when I picked it up. So it was the right price. And I was just curious about it. They've got, you can play Sabacc in it. And they've got all sorts of...
Yeah. I never understood Sabacc very much. I feel like I always lost when I played Knights of the Old Republic.
Basically, what it says is you want to get the lowest hand. And it explains it in a pretty easy way in the game itself.
Oh, that's good.
It's a fun game to play. You will, at some point, come across Lando Calrissian in there, from what I've heard. And what I've seen.
There's a sale from $69.99 to $34.99 right now.
Yep. If you're into that kind of thing, check it out. I've done some basic ship combat and stuff. I do like the story so far. But yeah, I probably will give it another couple hours or so. I really should just play Jedi Survivor, but everyone loves that. So it's like, I know I'm going to love it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was enough that I switched from Xbox to PlayStation for the new one, because the new one wasn't going to be backwards compatible. But I also knew that there were other PlayStation games that I wanted, like Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
So I made the switch over to PlayStation just for the new Jedi Survivor game.
Yeah, it seems to be the right choice. There's a lot of exclusives on the PlayStation. I say exclusives with air quotes because a lot of that stuff is coming to the PC after it gets popular. But
yeah, and actually Xbox just made a deal with Steam, so now most games will be available on Xbox.
Oh, really? Interesting.
It's been a huge deal in the video game world.
I need to do some research on that. That's interesting.
They gave PlayStation and Nintendo Halo because they know that they're about to have all of their exclusives.
But are they? I think what they're banking on is people want more games as opposed to excellent, well-crafted.
Yeah, I'd rather play better games.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like right out of the box. It's like, yeah, you have a smaller catalog, but it's a smaller catalog of excellent things. It's hard to sift through all the garbage of Steam to get to the gems. Whereas,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, where it's less so on a PlayStation, in my experience. So
it's been really fun. I've been enjoying the gaming world right now. Another game that I just played with my wife was Split Fiction, which is from Haze Light, and that was amazing.
Did you play It Takes Two when it came out?
I played it several times.
I was going to try and get my aunt to play with me, but she was having troubles with It Takes Two, and when I saw how difficult some of the levels were in Split Fiction, I was like, I don't think I can teach her how to do a lot of this stuff. It might be even challenging to me as well. Some of the things.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's challenging, but it's really fun. You learn and your skills improve while you play it. Great.
If it applies, we can talk about it in our video game section. This isn't actually our video game section. This is our what have we been up to section. I know it's deceptive. We're talking a lot about video games before we get into the word, but
because that's what we've been up to, is playing video games.
Exactly. That's we gotta truth in advertising, man. We gotta tell people what we've actually been up to. So let's get to the word this week, which is the word growth.
Yes.
I'm going to be reading from the Google definition, which is from Oxford Languages. We'll start with the process of increasing in physical size, upward growth of plants, the process of developing or maturing physically, mentally, or spiritually. Keeping a journal can be a vital step in our personal growth, which seems that's more up your alley as far as your podcast is concerned.
Yeah.
The process of increasing in amount, value, or importance. The rates of population growth are at the lowest in the north. Some of these sentences they use as examples are kind of like, why? Still in the first definition, the increase in number and spread of small or microscopic organisms, increase in economic value or activity. And then we've got the second definition, something that has grown or is growing. And in medicine, a tumor or other abnormal formation. That's a growth.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor. Kindergarten Cop is an excellent movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
You do a great Arnold impression.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Watching movies from the 80s. That's what did it. Finally, the third definition, which is a vineyard or crop of grapes of specified classification of quality or a wine from it. All growths within the legally determined champagne zone are classified. That seems like an odd, like specific to vineyards. Have you ever looked at the Google Ngram viewer? I've talked about it on the show a lot.
I was just looking at that for the word growth, and it looks like it reached its height in popularity in 1984/85-ish, which is kind of strange.
80s, 90s is when it kind of peaked, and then things stopped growing. No, they didn't. They just, it stopped being used in print as much. Do you think there's anything specific to the 80s? Oh, wait a second. You weren't around in the 80s, so.
I wasn't born until 89.
That was the year I graduated high school, 89. Fun fact. Are there any other definitions that you would like to add to that?
I mean, I think that pretty much covers it as far as I'm concerned. I think it's cool that the second definition, which is the process of developing or maturing physically, mentally, or spiritually. I really loved that one. You know, I love that it can apply to our mentality, it can apply to our physicality, and it can apply to our video game.
Exactly. There are growth mechanics in video games and ways that you learn. Not only yourself, you're learning, but then also your character is learning and becoming more knowledgeable about things and the environment and their skills.
I love that there's different growth mechanics, whether that's, I mean, I don't know if you want me to go into it now, or if you want me to hold off for a little bit. I don't want to do another spoiler.
The growth mechanics part, we can talk about it a little bit later. Yeah, that's cool because it's actually a mechanic of games.
They use it in several different ways. So I'll save that for later though, but I'm really excited about that part.
Yeah, let's save that. I was talking to someone before the show and telling them that we were doing the word growth, and they said, "You mean like the gross one or the learning one?" I was like, I think we're going to focus on the learning one, not growth, as in a tumor.
The cancer growth. Yeah, we're not doing those ones.
What is the first thing you think about? I don't think about tumors.
Me neither.
Although I do think about that movie Kindergarten Cop a little bit. But what is the first thing that you think of when you think of the word growth?
I definitely connect more with the mental and spiritual growth, because I have been in this space now for so many years. I started in the mental health area at the end of 2019 when I lost a cousin to suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I started going to therapy. And so to me, growth is something you do to be better than you were yesterday. And so that's why that definition really connects to me very closely.
As far as growth is concerned, there are things in your life that can be perceived as negatives, but that is a part of growing.
Absolutely.
Learning about and managing those things, its end result, you want it to be a positive as far as your perspective and helping others. But at the same time, within that growth, there are things that are negatives, and part of it is just navigating those things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Learning how to, I don't want to say deal with, because it sounds a little passive. Cope is another one where it's like, I think it's more process, right? Processing seems like it's active, whereas coping seems like it's more passive to me. But I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that. That's right.
In trying to do things, the processing is what you want to do. Learning and figuring out the intricacies of what the thing is that you're trying to tackle, so to speak.
How about for you? What comes to mind when you hear the word growth?
There are a bunch of things. Part of it is like muscular or physical growth, but it is mental mostly to me. It's learning. I personally have been in therapy for many years of my life for panic and anxiety. So I've talked through a lot of things. I've got a lot of managing and processing strategies when it comes to panic and anxiety and depression.
Good for you.
So it doesn't impact me now as much as I don't say as much, but it's not as much of an issue to me now as it used to be. And it's a lot easier to get through and know what's happening as opposed to before when I just started getting these things. It felt like I was all alone. But then you learn strategies to process and get through these things and then figure out how to deal with them in the future in a positive way.
I think that's so important. And I commend you for going in and staying in therapy, because it's really a challenge, and it can be a really beautiful thing.
It's true. There's something to be said for getting another perspective on things. When it comes to therapy, though, maybe it mirrors my regular life, but I like getting new therapists all the time. It'll be usually a year or two or whatever, and then I go to a new one. And I think to myself, why is that? Be that as a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist, it's always a year and a half and then switch to another one. In your personal opinion, is that a negative thing or is that positive? I've just noticed it in myself, and it's not like I got to get away from this person or anything. It's just, okay, well, on to the next one, and we'll see what they say and get a new perspective and learn about what the new stuff is. And that's how I talk to myself about it. But what are your thoughts on that, on switching therapists?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's a negative at all. If that works for you, I think that's what's important. There are some people who normality and like a regular person are what is going to support them.
Yeah.
And for them, they can't move around. But I think it's really commendable that you can get new perspectives, get new things, because each and every therapist I've been to, I've learned something new from.
Exactly.
So I really, really think that idea is really cool, and being able to explore and kind of like, some people don't think it's okay to you're basically dating your therapist. You're telling them these intimate details about yourself.
Right.
And so if there's one that's like, look, what you're doing for me isn't helping me anymore. It's okay to move on.
Yeah.
Or even if they are like, look, I just need a new perspective. That I think that's really great that you do that.
It's not you, it's me. It's not you. It's no, that's I think it's not like we're in a relationship, but we kind of are at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? It's an interesting dynamic too, because it's like they're paid to do this service, but at the same time, there's got to be some kernel of empathy. I've had bad therapists. Have you had any bad therapists?
I haven't, but my wife has. I'm pretty picky. When I walk into a therapist's office, I usually do my research well beforehand before I walk in.
Also, part of the process is learning about the person along the way, too. And sometimes you just learn that that's not the right fit. It's not getting the wrong or getting advice that you don't agree with or whatever. I mean, that's part of the process, is getting advice and listening to those harsh truths that you may not have wanted to acknowledge.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's certain things as far as things that they do that show that they're connected or invested in you. That those are usually the things that I will clue in on if I go, that's not really the right therapist for me. It might be for someone else, but not for me. There was a woman I was seeing. What was it? It was in California. It was an older woman. I was out there for a job. And this was like 20, 30 years ago almost. So I was there seeing a therapist for anxiety attacks that I was having.
Mm-hmm.
I got the medication part all squared away, but it was like time to go back to the therapist and learn the different things to go through and get the panic and anxiety workbook again and work through that, focus on that a little bit. So the therapist worked out of her house. I went there. One of the first things I said was there was this Mr. Boffo cartoon that I thought was really funny. A guy on the psychiatrist's couch, and he says, all my friends, they hate me. I don't know what to do. And the psychiatrist says, why don't you kill them? And I think that's hilarious. And I told her that, and then she got scared because she was an old woman. And I was a multiply pierced, punky looking kid. Who knows what she thought about me?
Okay.
It was just kind of like, okay, so that person, probably not a good fit for me. I should probably find someone else.
Probably not.
It's a process that's similar to dating someone, honestly. You're getting to know them, they're getting to know you, and you're trying to figure out if it's a connection that's worth fostering. You can make a case saying that I have commitment issues if I don't see the same therapist over and over and over again, but I don't view it that way, nor do I think that that is actually the case.
Maybe that's just like where you go, because look, even your podcast, you don't have the same host every time with you. You like a little bit of change. You like a little variety. You like it to be mixed up a little bit.
Right. I like to learn new things from people and hear their perspectives and empathize with them and all this stuff. So, yeah.
Have you always been a seeker of knowledge?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say learning new stuff was always something that brought me joy. It was done a little differently back in my day.
Oh, sure.
We've been going to the library. Now that we have these tremendous tools at our palms, there's information, there's disinformation, but the whole process of learning is still the same. And that is going to a source that you think is reputable or going to different sources, doing research like you would a paper. And I remember back in the high school days, researching papers was not something I enjoyed. But now, later in my life, I do like getting all that stuff together and figuring out the origin of things. And I would say yes. I've always been a seeker of knowledge.
I love that.
Maybe not differential equations. Maybe not complex math.
I don't like math.
You don't like math?
Person.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Me and math have never really been friends.
Not a good relationship there.
Not a good relationship. It's only been in my adult life that math and I have been like, okay, we can hang out, but like, I don't want to date you. We're just friends.
Yep. Math, you're good for calculating things, and I understand taxes and all that stuff, but anything higher level, more conceptual, usually kind of throws me for the loop. I still try occasionally to learn about that stuff just to see, but yeah, sometimes it's like, this is so far beyond me that I don't really understand, but I still go for it. I don't come into the whole thing with preconceived notions about what I'm going to find. That's generally the beautiful thing about learning and knowledge is when you come into it without preconceived notions. You don't know what you're going to find. You're going to find something, and you can get the pieces from it. To me, it's fun. How about you? Do you enjoy research and that kind of stuff or not?
I'm not really big on research.
Okay.
Actually, even up until recently, like I realized something about myself. I've always been the kind of person where if I don't perfect it right away, I don't want to do it anymore. So I was never good at research, and I always told myself I wasn't good at research or wasn't like smart enough to do the research, and just never took the chance to learn how to do it correctly. And now I'm definitely not. Relationships, friendships, I am not the researcher.
Okay. And you're okay with that. That's,
Yeah, I'm the idea guy. I like to give the ideas and let the other people do the research.
Yeah. There's something to be said for that. When it comes to anything mean, I'm the idea guy. I don't do any of this stuff. I just come up with the mean pranks. You know what'd be funny if someone blabbity blabbity blah and then someone else can take it and whatever. If you were to do both those, I think I'm a synthesis of the idea guy and the researcher. Somewhere in the middle of there, that's me. Okay. If they're opposite ends of the spectrum, which I don't know if any of this has to do with any of those tests that you're talking about, like classifications of personality and things. Is that one of the things, is like a test on what sort of personality tendencies you have?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Each type goes into, like, I'm getting an idea of what I think your type is talking to you. I won't tell you because I don't want to skew your view at all, but I'm a type 2.
Okay.
That's called the helper. It means I need to feel wanted and needed. My core motivation is to be helpful. And if I'm not feeling helpful, that's what makes me go crazy. If I don't feel like I'm being helpful or if I'm needed.
And that's different from attention. Much different.
Yes.
Because that's a different subset. You don't feel that you are good enough because you don't get the attention, or maybe there's just, you like the attention, but I think there's kind of a negative connotation to that. There is some good that comes from attention.
Yeah, sure. And there can be positives and negatives, and there are different levels of health that they go into also, as for like how healthy you are as this type.
Yeah.
And we all exhibit parts of other types, but there are definitely like, there's a particular type that's a little bit more aggressive. There's a particular type that's more peaceful. There's a type that loves to seek knowledge. There's a type that loves to seek achievement. So it goes into a lot of different things. And it's not just like what you are right now. It's like what you've always been at different levels of health.
Always been? Or, I mean, because there is a growth.
Always.
Okay.
So no matter what growth pattern, no matter if you're at an unhealthy level or a healthy level, this can help you pinpoint where you're at, and you can see how you've reacted to things in the past too. Even
though those things can change based on events that occur, or
parts of it. But the core number never will change.
Interesting stuff.
I can't wait to look at it with you a little more.
Yeah. Maybe do it on your show or something. Because that'd be fun. That's not something I normally would do. Part of the fun is just discovering along the way. To me, it's never been as much of a hindrance. People look at me and go, you do stuff on your own. Aren't you lonely? It's like, well, yeah, sometimes, but it's, it's not my focal point. It's just that I like doing new stuff. So I do it. And there are parts of my being that I get panic and anxiety, but I don't let that stop me from doing those things. We're all complex creatures, so.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's really cool. The Enneagram kind of gives you a roadmap to yourself and how you can get from one health level to another, or like what's missing in your life that's keeping you from getting here. Like, for example, when I started going through the Enneagram, one of the things that was keeping me getting to a next healthy level was loving myself. So I had to figure out, why don't I love myself? So I had to grow and I had to learn and I had to figure out why I didn't love myself to get to that healthy level.
Yeah.
And I figured out how to love myself through that. And it's been really, really amazing.
So the Enneagram is a tool to utilize if you're open to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just telling you who you are, but it's also something you use to grow yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really clear roadmap as to what's missing in your life.
Interesting. We covered a lot in that. Let's go to games.
I think that's a good idea.
You say there are grow mechanics in the games that you think about.
Yeah.
I think of two different games, but do you have any specific games that you think about when you think about growth, or is it just the concept of growth mechanics and how they're different in different games?
I think just the concept of growth mechanics and how they're different in different games. Like, for example, in Split Fiction, you don't ever get more powerful. You stay the same amount of powerful through the whole game, but the relationship between, the characters grows.
Yeah.
The way your ability as a player grows,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more of a story grow. Whereas like you play like a Skyrim where each level of growth, you get a new power or you get a new something you can unlock or do. Same with Baldur's Gate 3. In Mario, you get a mushroom that makes you physically grow.
Right.
And you can do more powerful things. So there's so many different mechanisms of growth that I think of when it comes to games, and so many different avenues to go down.
I always thought would be an interesting thing to explore in game mechanics is growth, but not in the way that you would think about it, getting more and more stuff or more and more powers. It would be a way to selectively figure out what's most important to the way you play your character and eliminate. So you start at a level that has all the different powers or whatever accessible.
Oh.
And then based on how you like to play the game, you're rewarded in a way by removing or limiting yourself in one sense. But then in that, you're kind of growing in how to manage the limitations. It's really kind of wishy-washy in my head right now, but as far as a thought on an exploration of a game mechanic, it just seems like an interesting thing.
Addition by subtraction.
Exactly. That kind of concept, something story-wise or game mechanic-wise. Or reallocate. You've got these powers, but then if you take this and then you reallocate it to something else, then it will change the way you play and how you navigate things and whatever.
I would say there's something cool that you can do like that in Baldur's Gate, where if you get to a certain point and you're not like happy with your character, you can totally revamp your skill points and what you've spent and how you've allocated them to your character and completely remap it if it's not working out for you. I think I like that idea of, I have all of these powers, but it's just so overwhelming. Let me just focus on these ones, hone those and make those better.
Yeah, exactly. By selecting the powers, if you've got a large pool, you do them yourself. But I think going through the exercise of selecting in a different way by taking away or reallocating piece by piece, as opposed to what you're talking about as a respec, right? You've got your ability, you can respec whatever different things that you can. Okay, so let's see if it works differently this way. I will buy or use my respec or whatever. How does it work in Baldur's Gate? It's not something you have to pay for or anything. It's just something that you can just decide at a certain point in the story that you want to.
No, I think you've got to pay a certain fine to the specter who helps you to respec your character.
The re-spectre of respecs.
Yep. And he's also the guy that brings you back when you die. But it's a small amount of money. I think it's something like 300 or not that much. But you can even like change your class if you want to go there. You can change your fighting style. You can change your subtype. It's pretty cool.
And I think I remember from talking to Cheyenne about this that they mentioned that there's sort of a hybrid kind of structure that you can do as far as classes. Is that true, or?
Maybe. It's not something I've discovered yet.
Okay. And maybe I could be confused with my regular Dungeons and Dragons lore. You had different multi-class kind of things you could do. But anyway.
I'm not sure if Baldur's Gate does that. I guess I'll have to look into that. I love the growth mechanic in games. I think it can make or break a game.
There was a game that I like to play called Odin Sphere, Leifthrasir. It's an older game from Vanillaware. It's basically a side-scrolling sort of shooter-ish attacking. Odin Sphere was a game that came out for the PlayStation 2 originally, but it kind of went beyond the capabilities of it.
Ah, okay.
And you play through the story as 5 different characters.
Oh, wow.
But you go sequentially. You play through one character and then play through another character and play through another character. And each of their growths are different. But the way that you grow is you eat food.
Okay.
You get all your experience from eating, essentially. Which is an interesting way to grow.
For sure.
And you don't grow like physically, but your experience, you just eat food. That's what you do.
That's really funny.
Find little different eateries and they give you higher experiences for eating certain things. And it's kind of an interesting way to handle point allocation in a game.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Eat more food, get stronger.
Exactly. It works on one level, but it's definitely video game logic.
Oh, for sure. Oh, video game logic. We use that constantly in my house. Video game logic, yeah. Oh, if we're lost, just go to the right. Eventually you'll find where you need
Exactly.
to go or what you need to find.
Yeah, go around the world to the right.
If I walk into like a museum or some sort of show of some kind, I apply video game logic and I just move to the right.
Yeah. If you looked at Odin Sphere, looked at the graphics, that's the type of style in Ender Lilies. It's a darker look, but it's like this hand-painted style. It's just beautiful.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, I think, if you like that kind of game. Pieces of it feel like a fighting game, and some pieces feel more like a shooter, but it's like really fun. It's one of my favorite games, I would say, of all times.
I'm always looking for new video games to try.
And this is definitely very unique. All of what Vanillaware does, they don't do the same thing twice as far as types of games. I think Grim Grimoire was a re-release also that just came out, but it's more of a tower defense style of a game.
Okay.
And then 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, 3D sort of, you're protecting a specific spot, but it's mech combat and it's got this beautiful sci-fi story. The joy in the game itself comes from the gameplay. They do things with cutscenes and stuff, but you have one of 13 characters, but they all kind of interconnect in a larger story, and there's very minor sort of puzzle solving that you got to do there, but it's mostly about the really beautiful kind of wireframe looking battlefield stuff. And of course the story is just pretty darn cool.
You'll have to send me that information so I can look it up after this.
If you want a list, I can give you a list. Now that you're a PlayStation person, you can watch out for the sales.
Yeah.
Any other games that you think about, or like just the growth mechanics mostly?
There was this old game, I don't know if you remember it, called Katamari Damacy. Does that ring a bell at all?
I was going to bring that up, actually.
So yeah, that's another one I think about where you're this little, like, I don't know, god, and you roll around a sticky ball. And the goal, I mean, different goals for different levels, but basically you start out like the size of a thumbtack. And you can grow to the point where you are the size of a galaxy and you're just rolling up other galaxies. So if that kind of growth mechanic is physical growth, then I think that one's really cool.
Oh, yeah. The original game, Keita Takahashi is the developer, but he didn't really start out as a game developer as much as a designer. And he worked for Namco. This was one of the things that he came up with, Katamari Damacy, and it was a big sensation.
That music gets stuck in my head regularly. It's got great music, great graphics. It's so fun.
I like the premise where the king and the queen of the universe, they get drunk and they destroy all the planets in the galaxy. And then you're the prince, so you've got to rebuild all the stars and so they can put them up in the sky. That to me is such a great, crazy, fun story. The king of all the cosmos. That was one of those experimental ones, and I don't think Namco thought it would be as big as it became.
Yeah, I think they even just recently came out with a new one in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I've got a take on this new sequels. I don't want the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I get that.
But I will go back to Katamari Damacy and I will play through the games. More of a nostalgia thing. It's fun trying to figure out which things to roll up into your big ball.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be a weird shape because that'll mess you all up.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to Google and just search Katamari. You can roll a ball around and it'll roll up all of your Google results.
That's awesome. Do you know what Katamari Damacy means?
I don't.
It's clump spirit. That's the translation, clump spirit.
Clump spirit.
Yeah.
That's funny.
The designer struggled to pitch the game to Namco's superiors, but eventually he went the student route. Namco Digital Game Hollywood Laboratory. They have a different mechanism that they call it now. I played a game this year at PAX that was kind of from the same development. It's about this little dog. Where is it? I got to send you that too because it's so... Okay, so here's the game that kind of gave me Katamari Damacy energy. It's another one of these student project things, but it's called DORONKO WANKO.
Okay.
DORONKO WANKO, where you play a Pomeranian and you have to basically destroy the house while your owner is sleeping.
That's really funny.
So you can find different things. You knock over paint and you walk over all sorts of things. You shake all the paint. You roll and stuff. And but that game also came from that sort of student area of Namco. And I think with a lot of games these days, speaking of growth, trying to figure out the new thing. You mentioned that you liked Assassin's Creed. That's kind of a nostalgia sort of component to that.
Oh, for sure.
Because there isn't generally anything creative or strange that comes out of that. I think that's a part of growth too. You can try and perfect the mechanics. That's also growth. But I mean, just playing the same game over and over again to me gets boring.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's pretty much the premise is the same. I really love the challenge of getting to the point where you're leveled up enough where it's not really challenging anymore, which makes it fun.
Also about that game designer, the designer of Katamari Damacy that I just wanted to touch on, the guy, he started a game company with his wife called Uvula LLC.
Okay.
They've got a new game that's coming out that Annapurna Interactive is going to publish called To a T, where you play the character, you're a small boy and his dog, but his body is in the shape of a T. So it's like the T pose thing.
Okay.
You know, like how people go, oh man, this game has the T pose where the people do the thing. But that's the character. Yeah. He's in a T pose and no one else is. And it's got that same sort of Katamari Damacy art style too.
Yeah.
But it looks like it could be a lot of fun. I watched the trailers and I reached out to the company and hopefully they'll be able to either be on the show, one of them, or that would be, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I would be such a fanboy if he came on the show. I just wanted to mention that the game To a T, watch out for it. It's supposed to come out in May.
That's funny. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, definitely. I always like those creative, either story creativity, game mechanics creativity. Yeah. And that's something that back in those days, Katamari Damacy was super creative. It was just like, and then there were a lot of knockoffs that came out after that. But
yeah. Not nearly as good though.
Agreed. One last thing to wrap up the show as far as video games. I think I sent you the link, but I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it. It was a series of games by this Japanese indie developer, very small, back in the Flash game days.
Yeah, GrowCube. I hadn't had a chance to check it out yet.
Yeah. Simple premise. He's got a whole series of these Grow games where all you do is you've got a selection of objects at the bottom, usually like 8 or 10. And depending on the order in which you use those objects, it will determine how the game plays out. So it's like a building thing. It's more of a branching where in order to get all the, and I don't know if he did all the different endings where he programmed every single different outcome, but it's really kind of an interesting thing where depending on the order, different things will happen in the environment. So when you use those objects in a different order, you will level certain things up, certain things won't level up. GrowCube was the culmination of more of a thing where it was very obvious that the whole environment was changing. And there is like a secret ending that you can reach by going in a certain order, but also playing through it. I mean, it also seemed like that would be an interesting game mechanic you can use in a story. But the problem with that is you would have to come up with all the different endings. So, you know, kind of thing.
That's
like if you,
crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I would say that's a good hour or two of your time going down that rabbit hole. If you go to the EyesMaze website, EYEZMAZE.com, has all the different Grow games and a lot of the other games that this On Nakayama, I don't know if that's his real name or if that's a pseudonym. I think it's a pseudonym. Check those out. That's a really unique sort of way to play with things, I think. So those are the two things that I think of as far as video games are concerned.
I love that.
So, Sky, what are your final thoughts on the word growth?
Well, man, don't be afraid to not just do some growth in video games, but to do growth in life.
Yes.
And to really help yourself become a better person. I think growth is something that we should all continue to do, and I think it's super important. And I can't wait to see how they put that into video games going forward.
To some extent, people are growing all the time as far as your cycle of life, but that's not what you mean here. what you mean is more of an emotional and sometimes physical, but more about the growing of your personality and it sounds like it's more brain growth than it is physical growth.
Yeah.
Like physical growth, muscles and things like that can be part of it, but it's all brain growth at the end of the day, right? Wouldn't you say? Or
yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to grow your brain. My final thoughts, you know what? I'm just going to go with that. Don't be afraid to grow your brain, no matter what way you want to do that. And also play a lot of cool games. I don't know. That's a good final word.
It is very important.
For me, it's a part of my happiness. It's a part of my nostalgia from when I was younger. I mean, going to the arcades. I loved playing arcade games and playing games, be it board games or video games, ever since I was little, and pinball machines and things like that. And it just kind of progressed or grew into something that is a part of my happiness in life, is playing these things and, exploring the new, because it's sort of a cool combination of artistic expression and an interactive thing. It's different than watching a movie. You can tell stories, but there's an interactive component that's always been a lot of fun for me. Even though there's no real story of Pac-Man, other than he just eats stuff. Oh, you know what? That reminds me, did you ever see Wreck-It Ralph?
I did, yeah.
Remember the part where they have the little villain group where it's like kind of they're all in the room.
Villain
together.
Support group or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Where they, I'm not good and that's not bad or whatever they said. But it was a growth thing, and arcs like what happened to Wreck-It Ralph in that movie. That's part of life, is discovering these things and becoming a better person. I just love that movie because it has all sorts of video game references in it, and it's a great story and it's super cute. So
very nostalgic.
Yeah. Thank you, Sky, for joining us. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to do this with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is really fun. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely. And if you ever want to have me on your show without my face because I don't want to be on video, go ahead and reach out and we'll do that. We'll make that happen.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. I'll wear a mask, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe a picture of a cat the entire time.
There you go. Perfect.
But anyway, thank you, audience, for joining us on this week's episode of the Too Vague Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Sky.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. A lot of energy with that bye.